Hello, everybody. This is Freaking Rican from Freaking Rican News Network. I'm gonna bring you a video and a couple articles I come across. This one's from Asheville, North Carolina, I believe. And this is what happened to a man when he was jaywalking.
Michael Carroll, 1998. That's the year Stoney Gantz started serving with the Asheville Police Department. But nearly 20 years later, Gantz found himself fired. We have his termination letter, which you can see online. In it, Asheville Police Chief Tammy Hooper said the case back in August 2017 cemented Gantz's fate. Video here shows Officer Christopher Hickman beating Johnny Rush after officers said Rush had jaywalked several times. Chief Hooper says Captain Stoney Gantz tried to interfere into a criminal investigation into Officer Hickman. The letter accuses Gantz of forcing a lieutenant on that case to drop his investigation. The letter cites previous instances where Gantz violated 14 city and police department policies. Asheville Human Resources had Gantz investigated back in December after receiving complaints like these from other officers. Quote, "My family and I are scared. I do not know what he is capable of." Also, another complaint read, "He's one of the most evil men I've ever met." Another complaint called Gantz's behavior, quote, "bullying, obstructionist, and retaliatory." Well, Gantz can appeal to the city manager to get his job back. He has until May 13th to file the appeal under a grievance procedure. Michael.
All right, Joe.
This officer, he even had his fellow officers scared of him. He had violated 14 different Asheville City and Police Department policies. He made nearly $90,000 per year when he was fired. Now, that's some pretty good money to be fired over just stupid stuff. Said he had a number of complaints, alarming. People complained about Gantz's allegedly intimidating behavior, questionable ethics and integrity, misconduct, and interference. Now, I thought that's what you're supposed to do. If you have a problem with a police officer, you go make a complaint. That's supposed to be the process. But apparently, they kept overlooking this, and he was just apparently intimidating to even his lieutenant.
Michael Carroll, 1998. That's the year Stoney Gantz started.
But I'll bring you another one. This one right here.
Less than 2 months after an internal investigation into two of its own began, Claremont police dropped 20 cases that involved officers Ian Kibbe and Mark Birch.
We had an obligation to review the cases that were pending involving the officers that are no longer employed with us.
According to the Attorney General's office, Kibbe and Birch allegedly falsified documentation related to a search that happened in late February. Kibbe was charged with perjury, Birch was not. Chief Mark Chase says he immediately assessed whether the officers' involvement in ongoing cases could go forward without Kibbe and Birch's testimony.
These cases that I found had evidence, or the officers that are no longer employed would have had to supply evidence to the court, and we can't use them at this point, so we had to get rid of them.
Chief Chase says the department is also reviewing cases that have already been tried but would not specify whether those officers' testimony could be detrimental to convictions. However, attorney Kirsten Wilson says it's possible these developments could be grounds for defendants to seek an appeal.
When an officer's on the stand and testifying to what he saw, what he observed, what he heard people say, and now that is entirely called into question in every case that these two officers have touched.
Chief Chase believes as the Attorney General's office releases details of the investigation, it will show that his department acted quickly and justly.
Hopefully gives the public a sense of trust that we're doing what we're supposed to do, what they believe we're supposed to do. before this incident occurred.
Now, Kibbe is set to appear in court next week. He faces charges that he lied in a written report attempting to justify a search of a property.
Excuse me. And so there you have another officer that, because of his actions, they had to drop 20 cases that involved this officer. Both of these officers. I'll bring you another one. 35 of Manchester ex-officers' cases to be dropped. Prosecutors will have to drop 35 pending felony drug cases, some involving allegations of significant trafficking in fentanyl and heroin, that involved Darren Murphy, the undercover Manchester police detective who was fired in early February for unspecified misconduct, according to the Hillsborough County Attorney Dennis Hogan. Hogan said his office is also reviewing another 34 convictions that relied on investigations involving Murphy, but no decisions have been made about what to do with those. So, because of the way this officer conducted itself, 35 cases were dropped. And this lady, she was looking at 15 years, but she accepted a plea bargain for 7 months in jail. And you see how happy she is. As if anybody would be happy to go from 15 years to 7 months. She probably got time served too. But I mean, it's it's very simple, for cops to just go out and do their job and do the right thing. But because they got 35 of these cases to be dropped, that's a lot of taxpayers' money wasted. A lot of months and months and months of work for these officers that are trying to do the right thing, just wasted. And this is by one officer. I mean, you got people on here who face 12 felony drug charges. I mean, when you're getting off of felony drug charges, then the officer must have done some real dirty stuff. you know. But it's not hard to do the right thing. And you probably had another officer that knew he was doing stuff like this and just didn't say nothing. And they say silence is complicit, you know. I mean, they want us to abide by the rules and abide by the law, but they're officers and they're breaking the law and doing whatever they want to. You got one officer just beating up somebody because of jaywalking, and then you got, just after these two articles, 55 cases that were dropped because of a total of 3 officers didn't do the right thing. But that's all I got right now. This is freaking reeking news. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.